Okay, good morning and welcome everyone to our webinar this morning on overburden criteria discussions for Michigan State Revolving Fund programs. My name is Jim Ostrowski and I work in the Environmental Support Division here at EGLE. Glad to have you here with us today. We've got about 42 people logged in right now, but I expect we'll have a few more logging in as we get things rolling here. I'm just going to be kind of moderating today's session and helping out. I'll turn it over to Mark in just a moment, but before we do that, just some guidelines. We've got lines are muted right now. We do want to hear from you in a little bit though, so we'll explain how we're going to do that when we get to that point after our presentation. We're also recording this session. This is the first of two identical sessions, so we've got another one coming next week, going to cover the exact same stuff, but we just wanted to have two opportunities for people to listen in depending on when they're available. So we're recording this one, we're also recording the other one, and we'll be sharing out a link when those are available to everyone who registered. Also keep an eye on the chat because we might be dropping a few links into the chat for you today as well. That's all I have, so I'm going to turn it over to Mark Conradi, and he is going to share his screen and take it over. Hey, Mark.
Thanks, Jim. If I can steal this from you.
Looks good. Yep.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mark Conradi, work at EGLE here along with Luke Hurley. We're going to go over this, like I said, it's an information session. We're just going to lay out kind of the data we have and why we're here, and then just listen to comments you may have as we go forward with the process of potentially doing any criteria updates to the current overburdened and significantly overburdened, the criteria that we use to decide whether or not communities qualify. So welcome. All right, let me see. And my slides are not wanting to move. There we go. All right, so thank you. So the agenda. Here's basically the breakdown of how we'll go through everything. First of all, why are we here? Why are we only using the fiscal year 24 and 25 data? What is EGLE trying to achieve with these meetings and these the public input? We'll go over the review process of basically the data that we took last couple of years and how we're using that to move forward. Give you some of the results of the data, and then we'd like to listen to you to see if you have any specific categories or things you think we could look at for future, or to any tweaks in the current rules. So first of all, why are we here? So in 2022, SRF legislation was changed at the state level to allow changes to be made to scoring. Before that, the scoring changes were kind of locked into place. So this is nice in that it allows us to tweak things if they need to be tweaked, or at least gives us a chance to look at them no earlier than every 3 years, but every 3 years. During this legislation change, overburden criteria was legislated to be at least 20% of the project scoring ranking. In our case, we made the project scoring out of 100 points, so that made the overburden score just 20, so the math was easy. Overburden and significantly overburdened criteria that we are currently using was put together and developed through a public meeting hearing process 3 years ago. So that started in FY24 and then FY25, and now currently when we're doing the FY26 reviews. So they've been in place now for 3 years. Throughout this process, stakeholders have shared interest in looking at the current criteria to see if any modifications should be made, and this is the earliest opportunity that EGLE can do so per the law from 2022. So why are we only using fiscal year 24 and 25 data? Well, it's the way the scoring system works. So data presented today comes from the FY24 and 25 project priority lists. because of how we're funding, as most of you know, because you are in the process of doing it, FY26 loans are currently coming in. So they haven't even been ranked or anything yet. So we don't even have a project priority list for FY26 stuff. Also, FY25 projects, most of them haven't even signed their loans yet because they're going in later quarters this year due to construction season and things like that. So again, we don't have like FY24 and 25, we couldn't use, well, who actually signed their loan and all that at the end, because we don't know that, and we won't know that until it's too late to make any changes to the criteria. So FY24 and 25, we use the project priority list because those two were basically the same data aggregated the same way and the same type. And that's really the only way we could look at 2 consecutive years, because as we've just discussed, FY26 projects are still coming in, and those rankings won't even be out till later in this year. So what is EGLE as an agency trying to achieve with these overburden criteria? So we have started early. We started late last year, letting everybody know that the time frame that we could legally open the process up was beginning. We have been posting to the page, and I think Jim could maybe throw this in the chat, but it's the page you use to sign up for this hearing. So hopefully you know, but it's basically a page, a web page dedicated to how the process of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and when it's going to happen. So we're trying to give stakeholders the longest time possible to submit comments on potential changes or data sets you think could be used. Also, we are looking for criteria that has a reasonable reliability and margin of error and is updated annually. So a lot of things, whether it be rural or urban or high population, low population, I guess that's kind of similar. We're looking for criteria that hits everyone around the state equally. So we're trying not to find things that only would apply to a certain subset of people or a certain area within the state. And we're also looking for things that are updated annually, because we don't want to have something that's locked into place for years and years and years. Like, we can look at this every 3 years, but if data doesn't change for every 5 or 10 years, that means certain people will always be locked in or always locked out, and there's no way to change it. Hitting that again with applies to all residents of the state, not just certain geographical regions. Another thing that has been helpful, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, is that the data we're using now, we can aggregate and post and make easily accessible to people. So a community could reasonably find and complete an overburdened or application without needing to hire an engineer, a consultant, or a financial advisor. It could theoretically be done in-house, and that's something that has been helpful for especially something like this, because an overburdened community sometimes doesn't have the ability or the funding to hire all this to get put together. So at least we're looking for something that is pretty reasonably straightforward to do. And then lastly, the most important one, we want criteria that direct overburden scoring points to those most in need. All right, so I'm going to pass this off now to Luke to talk about a little bit of the review process and understanding of the data that we pulled together from FY24 and 25.
Perfect. So like Mark had said, the data for our statistical review of the past 2 fiscal years was sourced from the project priority lists. This data was then merged with the information that was received from communities when they apply for overburdened status. So in 24, that was an Excel spreadsheet, and in 25, that was a Survey 123 form. For purposes of data cleanliness, projects that did not apply for status were deemed as not overburdened. And then the statistical methods that were used, the data was loaded into a Python integrated development environment and was subset into fiscal year, overburden status, and system type. And then we ran descriptive statistics such as summating different attributes and running the mean on them as well. To avoid skewed statistics, non-reported data and outliers were omitted from calculations.
I'll steal it back from Luke for a second. So another thing we did, and so this has all been data that's put on our site. So the next few slides, I'll explain a little bit more. They're just in here. If you haven't seen the site yet, or if people haven't seen the information will be in this PowerPoint, which will be available sometime next week on the site. So it's more just showing the data that you've already seen. But the other thing we did was last fall, winter, when we started doing the review, we used EPA / the federal government's old Justice 40 CGEST map to go through and see how it compared to what we had. So we used the latest version. Luke can tell, I think it was like 2.0 or whatever. The most recent CEGST map and compared our stuff. So again, EGLE's criteria uses median annual household income, including the federal poverty rate for the automatic qualifiers. It uses taxable value per capita, and it uses the cost of service per average customer. The EPA method looked at 8 different things: climate change, energy, health, housing, legacy, pollution, transportation, water and wastewater, and workforce development. So we wanted to see how our system worked against the system that was in place at the time when we ran this. So again, here, these are all on our website. This is just the results of the review, and they're in this slide just in case anybody would like to go back and look at them. More data on that. And again, this is all posted, but this is just basic details from the FY24 and 25 numbers. I'll pass it back to Luke, where he can kind of explain how the map overlays and again how the results worked out based on comparing the two.
Yeah, so like Mark had said, we did a direct comparison between the climate and economic justice screening tool and where our projects approximately place on a map, and looked at how our system of classifying overburden status compares to this federal tool's classification methods, which again takes into account 8 different categories of burden, and then creates a blended score based off of factors within those 8 different categories. We found that our current system classifies projects as overburdened or significantly overburdened 87% of the time, compared to the EPA's or the federal tool that classifies them as burdened only 60% of the time. So quite a significant difference in how our tools classify, but ours is considerably more lenient compared to the EPA's tool.
And I guess just to add to that too, the current EGLE criteria is more lenient, but there was almost full agreement if you look at the map as far as the way EGLE did it and the way EPA did it. Almost agreed most of the time for what was determined to be a disadvantaged or overburdened community. There were only a couple that fell outside of that, but for the most part, they were the same, other than the fact that the current criteria that EGLE is using qualified a significant amount of more projects as disadvantaged versus not. So I guess with that, we are now going to open this forum up for suggestions that people may have. I will say after this meeting and after the meeting we have on Monday, we're just leaving this space the next few months open to receive public comments. We would love to get them in written form so we can take our time. We'll be collecting them all. And then that will give us a chance to look at all of them and get ideas before we propose any new changes or propose to keep things exactly as they are. But again, we would like comments from you on either data sets you think we're missing or something we can look at. Again, ideally along those lines we outlined earlier of being applicable to all, being updated yearly. Basically the things that can make it most fair and most easy. I don't think we would be getting away from the survey 1, 2, 3 style. We've gotten a lot of very positive feedback the last 2 years on the ease of submitting. So if you have any comments on that, we'd like to hear them too, but that is the one thing that we're pretty confident people have enjoyed and would like to keep going. But again, if you have comments on that, please let us know. Comments can be written in the chat. Try and keep your comments to like 3-ish minutes if you can. So if more people want to talk, they want to talk. If you'd rather send them in after, we'll be posting the email to send them to and the heading title, the blurb to put up top, and we'll be sorting all those separately and addressing them. But otherwise, we're just going to keep accepting comments throughout this whole process. And right now I will pass it on to oh yeah, this is after. I'll pass it on to Jim to start calling on people.
All right, thanks, Mark. And I will just remind people that if you'd like to make a comment today, please raise your hand. You click the little raised hand icon in your Zoom toolbar, and we'll call you as you come up. Also, if you want to make a comment, you can also type it into the Q&A box, actually, not the chat, Q&A box on your Zoom toolbar as well. And we'll try to read those off as best we can. Hey, Mark or Luke, the email address you guys want people to email to, who should that go to?
I can move forward on the slide. There you go.
Yeah, let's leave that up there. Yeah, that'd be good for right now. All right. Yeah, so we'll leave that up there. So it's EGLE, EGLE-WIFFS@michigan.gov. And I think Natalie Brown is also with me on too, and I'm going to have her drop that into the chat for you all. Okay, so looking at who wants to make a comment today, I got one person with their hand raised so far. Again, raise your hand if you want to make a comment. We're here to listen to you. So Shannon, yeah, I'm going to unmute your line. And so you should be able to unmute on your end and go ahead and talk. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah, Shannon Byers with American Rivers. First of all, thank you. Thank you for listening and responding to our IUP comments. You know, I've commented over the last couple of years, and I appreciate EGLE's engagement with us. I also appreciate you taking a deep dive into the data and looking at how your criteria for overburden is significantly overburdened communities, checks with Justice 40 and EPA criteria. So thank you for taking that initiative and showing leadership as a state to all the other states, right? And in doing this. One thing that, you know, I've looked at this data myself and trying to find out, you know, how Michigan is meeting Justice 40 criteria back when, you know, that was under executive order, but just looking at really how those investments are lining up to communities and are like the neighborhoods that are most disadvantaged or most vulnerable to climate change in our state actually receiving those investments. And it's a little difficult to tell from the data because obviously the municipality or utility oftentimes, you know, is the one applying, and they're applying at like a regional level. And it's kind of hard to like dive down into the project data to really tell where that project and investments landed. So if there's any way through your data reporting that you guys could get more information, like address or more specifics on who or what, neighborhoods, what population is actually benefiting from those investments, that would be great. Another thing we're really looking in is how much of this investment is going toward natural infrastructure, so our communities will be more resilient in the future. So any data or any way that you guys can help streamline and pair out that information on like how much of that funding for the project went to green infrastructure and not just gray, that would be great too. But thank you for all the work you're doing and appreciate to continue these conversations.
Great, thanks, Shannon, for your
No
comment.
comment.
Okay, next person that's got their hand up is Christopher. So Christopher, I am unmuting your line and you can go ahead and get started for us.
Hey there, good morning. My name is Chris. I'm with the Alliance for the Great Lakes, and I'm involved in advocacy and SRF advocacy in the region and at the federal level. I had two general comments. One is in the interest of specific criteria for the DAC definition, just a reaction to the idea of only using data sets that apply to the whole state. I was just curious how EGLE is accounting for how certain regions of the state may be facing an environmental burden or other economic burden that does affect their ability to pay. And I guess in my mind, omitting such data because it doesn't apply to the whole state may sort of like omit a reality that a particular community is experiencing. So I guess my comment is just to encourage exploring how to reconcile that, how there are some burdens in certain communities that don't apply to the whole state, and how that could inform, I guess, DAC determination. Another general comment I had is, we've seen in the last few years that essentially many, if not most, of the communities qualify as with DAC status. And I guess as a general comment, I'm just wondering or encouraging EGLE to explore how to sort of tie in that a little bit, since DAC status unlocks preferential treatment on the SRF program. If we're treating essentially all applicants the same, the definition essentially loses some of its value. So just those are the two general comments. And I too want to say thanks for hosting this meeting and listening to our comments.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, if you have any specific data sets that you think are region specific, please send them our way and to that WIF's email, and we'd be happy to look at them. And we have heard that other comment before by a lot of people, either folks that aren't overburdened that knew in the past couple of years, because you kind of needed an 85 or higher, which you couldn't get without being overburdened. They were kind of upset or struggled with that. We can't ever get it. But also some significantly overburdened communities also had the thing of, we can get the 20 or 25 overburden points, but we can't necessarily score enough in the other category. So we have been hearing from both sides of the aisle on that, as far as people wanting the criteria tightened a bit.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for your comments. All right, so I don't have any more hands raised, but I do have several comments, questions in the Q&A box. So I'll kind of go through some of those. And this first one you kind of addressed already. Is there any change in the form applying for overburdened, and what are the changes to the forms?
I would say, I think that's the survey 123. We've used that the same 2 times the last 2 years. Again, I don't want, it's been tough right now because the FY26 projects are coming in right now. So if you were applying for FY26, it's with the current rules. If you were clean water, you needed to have it in by May 1st. And if you're drinking water, you need it in by June 1st. So this is not referring to those, but we plan on, unless we get feedback that people don't like it, to continue to use the survey 123 form that people can fill out that automatically does the math and and everything, and autofills the criteria for a community.
Right. I like this one. Can the survey include a save and continue later function? We looked at
I
that.
was actually just gonna jump in and answer that. Jacqueline, I believe as long as you leave your browser open, the survey should stay saved, but I will explore that functionality on our side and see if there's anything I can do to help facilitate like draft versions.
Or I guess in that case, maybe like you just have one saved with the big list of communities, so you could just open it up and have that entered in once. Yep. Yeah, we'll see what we can do with our tech end, but yeah, thanks for jumping in, Luke. That's what Luke's good at. That is what I am not. Good.
He's the backup man. All right. So another question, is there a firm end date in August to have comments in by?
There will be, that we'll hash out. I don't know when the official public hearing will be. And at that point, there will be an end date put on it. But again, I'm asking everybody today and then again on Monday, please send your comments in now. So then we have an adequate time to look at them and see if there's data sets or the ability to do it. We would like to get as much input early so we have time before, because at the public hearing, we're going to propose a draft of what we think we should do, whether it's keep everything exactly the same, tweak things, add things. So we would like to get as much early as possible. So we have enough time to go through everything and see what we are able to do. But at the public hearing, we will be giving a firm end date for when we'll be accepting comments.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. And when do you think the hearing's going to be? It's going to be like in this July?
Probably end of July-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we're bumping up. We don't want to push up against the other scoring group that's doing the other 75 points, and we don't want to bump up too close to like the PPL for this year. So there's a lot of stuff. We're just trying to keep it. So I would say end of July, early August, somewhere around then is probably where we will be holding, and that'll be an actual physical location public hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to remind everybody, because we had questions on this too, is that I did post again, in case you missed it, the website for all this, so you can go there. That's where we'll post the information about the public hearing. Also, the recordings for this will be posted there, and we're going to post a copy of this presentation to that website as well next week, right, Mark?
Yeah, because the next meeting's Monday, so just basically one business day away. So probably mid next week, we will be posting both of these recordings, with people's comments, and we'll be posting a copy of this presentation. But that's the place to keep checking for updates, because again, that'll be where we'll put in a firm date for that public hearing with all the information on it and the ability to sign up for it, and or the time and place so you can physically attend if you would like to. But everything for this whole process is all on that page that's in the comments, the overburden criteria. So just keep checking in every now and then on there.
Yeah, and I can even go one step further, Mark. And we've got your emails. So when we post the public hearing, I can help you with this. We can email you guys out.
So everyone that's attended one of these could get
or registered even. So
perfect.
Then you guys out the link. All right, going back, no hands raised. I don't see right now. So if you want to make a verbal comment, please raise your hand. In the Q&A box, person's asking, is this going to add updates to legislation for rural increase versus urban, and the incentives leading to the new tax structures for OZ census tracts? What's the odds for capital gains tax incentives for EGLE?
That
A lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that would be. That would be a comment. If you think there's a data set that has that or is changing that we could use, please send it to us, but I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, and you guys got the email address, so yeah, please share with the team here. All right, can you expand on how these methods will be used for authorities or other entities with multiple communities? The existing method penalizes overburdened and significantly overburdened communities when they are part of an authority, causing them to lose access to points and reduce interest rates?
The way we do it and the way it's been set up is this is a loan program based on how much a person is paying. EGLE in the state of Michigan doesn't legislate how authorities interact with each other. So if an authority is formed, they negotiate and have legislated out the terms of their agreement. These agreements are usually like 20 plus years with auto things. So if a community says, we're gonna give you 50% of our water and 50% of our water, and we're gonna split the cost 50-50, that's not something that EGLE ever says or legislates. We have rules on like needing to meet permits, but we don't have how to bill. So the way we do our math is based on who's paying for the system. So if a big community comes in for a thing that is spread amongst all their users, we take all the users' info and we blend it together. If any one of those communities within a large system comes in by themselves and says, hey, we're coming in, only our residents are paying for it. And the only way they can say that is if their negotiated rules are in place. If they can say, hey, we're working on a collection system, it's just in our community, then we will absolutely look at that community as their own community because they are paying for the bills. If the bill is being split by everybody, then we need to take everybody's bill because it's not changing the specific communities different, like everybody's paying for it. So that's how we've been doing it because it seems to be the most fair. And again, if any one of those individual communities that would be overburdened or significantly overburdened by themselves comes in for a project for just their area, then that's exactly how we review it. But when it's split up amongst everybody, then everybody gets blended together because the costs get blended with everybody. Just like spreading the costs out makes it much cheaper for all those communities because they're splitting the bill with everybody. So that's the way it's been done, and that's the reason why. Again,
Yeah.
if there is a way you would suggest changing it, please send it in a comment and please explain why you think it's fair or unfair either way. We'll take a look at it.
Thanks for clarifying, Mark. So Jacqueline did write back that she's tried to leave her browser and come back, and it did not save the data. She lost it. So no, Luke, so we already figured that part out. So maybe you can do a little more investigating there, Luke, on that and see what options we have. A couple more people asking about the best place to find information, including the PowerPoint. Again, that's on the website that I put into the chat. So that's what we're going to be putting.
Oh, yeah. If you're looking at that website in the chat and you click on it right now and go to it, there's a gray, like there's a box where it said to sign up for these presentations. Yeah. We will put those we will take that link out and put the link in for these recorded presentations there.
Okay, this person's asking, just wanted to confirm that the comparison of our significantly overburdened criteria was to the White House Council on Environmental Quality's CEJST tool, and not to the EPA's Inflation Reduction Act Disadvantaged Communities map.
Correct. Yeah, we had just misspoke and said EPA. It is the White House Council on Environmental Quality's Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's what it's what EPA was using for the Justice 40, and so yeah, a lot of our money comes from EPA. Instead of just saying the Fed's tool, EPA is kind of right, kind of wrong, but yes, it was the CJEST tool.
Yeah, thanks for checking us on that. Appreciate it. How many communities did not pursue an application because they did not meet unburdened criteria?
I guess that's a question we don't know. The new system, at least the past 2 years, so not in 24. In 24, somebody, people would fill out an Excel sheet and send it in, and then they get a response after. In 25 and this year in 26, going through that survey tool, you'd immediately get a response back. I don't know how many people prior to this filled one out, got a response, and then just didn't send it in. I guess from a statistical standpoint, it doesn't matter as much because they didn't qualify, and we, in our review, we then said they didn't qualify because we didn't get anything from them. But yeah, I guess there are certain
We had a total of 612 applications come in between the 2 years, and of that, 431 of them qualified as either overburdened or significantly overburdened. I don't have the total number of projects that could have applied off the top of my head, but that is something that we could investigate adding to the page.
Again, in the last couple of years, if you've been involved with the SRF, when I do my February meetings on how to use or how to apply for overburdened, the last couple of years I've asked people to apply even if they don't think they qualify, so we could get that data. Again, it's not required, so a lot of people don't, but we have the last couple of years gotten more communities just submitting, just so then we know that they don't qualify. But that's why I ask, because that is a little bit of a blind spot, but it's not something we can require, because like if you don't qualify, you don't need to send us anything. But that's why we ask, and if in the future you want to, please do. A lot better data.
Right, okay. I had just one more pop in here about I don't know how you'll be able to answer this, but are there any concerns or potential impacts to funding with regards to federal regulation compliance, like for diversity, equity, inclusion?
That I don't know. I don't. I know, like, again, the tool, the CGEST tool, no longer exists on the federal website. So we did have that data and we did compare it to it. But I don't know what the federal changes in federal rules would do with that. We do have our state legislation and what we need to look at and what we need to do. And then once we come up with a plan, like our current criteria in place, EPA does look at and has to approve, which they did for the current rules. So that'll happen when it happens. But
Hey, I don't have any more comments or questions in my Q&A box queue, nor do I have any hands raised. So I'll get it just one more sec to do a call out, see if anybody has anything they want to add. Just a reminder about the website that's on there and about emailing Mark and Luke any comments or questions you have. Email comments and questions are really good and they appreciate those.
so, yeah, and I popped this, I just went back a slide, but this is what's on the website. So that July, like I said, it'll probably be late July, maybe early August, but again, enough time to give people more time after we propose what we plan to do moving forward to comment again on it. But again, the earliest you can get us stuff, the more helpful it is, because we'll have time to flesh it out and see if it works. Also, again, we'll be posting this. So the one Monday will be exactly the same. It'll just be a different group of people potentially providing, hopefully, different comments. So we'll have more comments to look at. But then all this will be posted on that site.
Yeah, that's a good point. So same presentation both days, next week as well. We're recording both. I'll put them both online. So don't feel like you have to attend both to hear it. You can just watch the recording if you'd like. If there's something you feel you might have missed, you can just watch that recording because they'll both be up there. I don't have anything else in the queue or in hands raised, Mark. So if you have anything to wrap us up, go right ahead.
No, like this is the slide everybody, I guess, needs. So hopefully they got it. But just start your comment. We've created a separate folder in this Swift's email box. So that is the box you'd send other questions to for SRF. But if you put SRF overburden criteria comment right up front, we will be moving those all to a separate folder and aggregating everything and going through them that way. So please just make sure that you put that overburden comment right in the header so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. And we'll try and, get back and say, hey, thanks, we got your email. And then after that, we'll go through all of them and work through them. I think my last slide's just the general. Yep, just the general EGLE slide. So thanks, Jim.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, Mark and Luke, for answering questions, responding to comments and the presentation. That's all we have for today. Like I said, everything's we posted up on the website, probably end of next week, so you can check it out there. And thank you all for spending time to provide comment, ask thoughtful questions. This is what makes everything better. So we appreciate you spending time here with us. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.